Now for our picks panel, and both Ayaan Harry and Henry Rossoff have the day off. So this week we are joined by political analysts Tara Dowdell and Morgan Peckma, as well as Jeff Colton from City and State New York. So good to have all three of you with me this morning. So let's start off with the topic of Rikers. This once again in the headlines. I feel like every couple of years we hear about Rikers once again. I went in depth this morning with public advocate Jumaane Williams, who really talked about the horrendous conditions that he and other state leaders saw when they toured. Let me begin with you, Jeff, right? Because I feel like we've been reporting on Rikers for a very long time, and it has not gotten better. What is a solution here?
Depends on who you talk to. The corrections officers, they say that you just need to hire more of them. That'll fix the problems. A lot of progressives say you need to just close down Rikers and create a new jail. Of course, that creates many of its own questions. And then the latest one, de Blasio, is saying, you know, you need to push this new law and just basically send fewer people to jail. But there's so many different groups of people that end up in Rikers, parolees, sentenced folks. It's unclear how to make the change and how to make it quickly.
Yeah, when you break that down and who you talk to, some people say, yeah, sure, release nonviolent offenders, parole, and then you have somebody like Commissioner Shea who says, let's do that methodically before we put people back on the streets. Tara, what are your thoughts here once again? Whose responsibility is it? Because now Governor Kathy Hochul is saying, well, maybe we'll get involved.
Well, something needs to change. I think we all know that we all agree on that. I would say, I think that Rikers should be closed down. It's been a problem for years. The unsanitary conditions, the suicides, and I want to remind people about Kalief Browder. Kalief Browder was a young man who was accused of stealing a backpack. He spent years in Rikers. He was later found to have been not guilty, and he died by suicide because of the trauma that he endured. So I think look, I run a small business. Morgan works in the private sector. If any of us had the outcomes that Rikers Island has, if any of us ran businesses that functioned in the way that Rikers Island functioned, we wouldn't exist. So we shouldn't treat government any different when something is failing.
What would a state takeover look like?
Well, I mean, here's the thing that we need to understand, the immediacy of the crisis. I mean, it is really a humanitarian disaster right now where people's daily lives are in jeopardy. All these solutions that are being put forward are long-term solutions. I agree with Tara about closing Rikers, and I think the need for decarceration is very important, but those are still slow rolling in. Talking about like a state intervention or sending in the National Guard, it's like we literally need hundreds of people to go into the jail right now and to fix those conditions in order to protect these, you know, the people who are incarcerated there.
And many are saying that they just want the mayor to actually go and take a look as well, which he says he will.
He has an emergency plan, so we should.
And the mayor should let Pix's cameras go in there and to film what the conditions are so that people, it's not at a remove from your viewers.
Yeah, we had the commissioner on of the Department of Corrections who invited me out there, and we will be going when they actually allow us to go. The invitation is one thing, but having us go is another, right? I want to get to other major news this week. 2 vaccine mandates put on hold, and these are important, right? Judges now reviewing the vaccine requirement for New York City teachers and school staff, and then also the state mandate for all healthcare workers. So I guess the big question here is, where did this come from? Could we see a reversal once again? Because so many people were told one thing, and now we're seeing another. Tara, let's begin with you.
Well, the courts originally said that vaccine mandates upheld vaccine mandates, so we should state that explicitly. The thing here is that people keep forgetting that vaccine mandates already exist. In order to enter into school systems, all of us here are vaccinated not just for COVID-19, but we're vaccinated also for measles and mumps. And that's how we wiped out major illnesses. So I think part of the big problem here is there's been this flooding of misinformation. And that is really, I think, you wouldn't even need vaccine mandates if there wasn't so much misinformation around COVID-19 and the vaccines. And I think that's really what's driving a lot of this, is that misinformation has taken hold and has gotten into the popular opinion.
Morgan?
You know, I think part of the problem is that we haven't seen a clearly rolled out plan by the city, that people don't know necessarily what is coming. And because there is all this indecision and mixed messages, you know, we saw it too with this rollout of having all the city workers have to go back into the offices where it's clearly unnecessary for so many of them to do so. If there was something that was a little bit better articulated to the public of what the city is trying to accomplish, I think they would have better results.
You know, I want to talk about, this is a big topic also on the campaign trail, right? And we're about 6 weeks until Election Day. Jeff, I know you're heavily involved in the race for mayor between Curtis Sliwa and Eric Adams. It seems pretty quiet on the campaign trail right now. What's going on? When are we going to see things ramp up?
Gosh, the first televised debate isn't until October 20th. So we've got like another month before, I guess, really the general public starts really tuning in and paying attention. Part of the problem is that New York is so overwhelmingly Democratic, and Eric Adams is being treated as the heir apparent, the next mayor. I mean, statistically, he probably will be. He's the Democrat. He's probably going to win. In fact, just this week, we saw Michael Bloomberg, who was elected as a Republican, endorsing Eric Adams rather than Curtis Sliwa. So, I think there's a reason people aren't tuning in, paying too much attention.
Right.
It's not that competitive.
Yeah, I mean, we only have 20 seconds left here. Eric Adams versus Curtis Sliwa. What are you expecting to see in the next 6 weeks, real quick, both of you?
It's not going to ramp up.
Not gonna ramp up.
He just doesn't have a good enough chance.
Tara?
And I think Curtis is going to try his best to throw his circus act. He's going to try his best to ramp things up in a way to get some attention, but I'm not sure it's going to resonate.
We shall see, right? And of course, there'll be the debates and long format interviews that we'll see with both of them coming up. Morgan, Tara, Jeff, thank you so much for being here on a busy morning.